So tonight, we're going to actually hear from Pastor Ricky Temple. He's going to share a message entitled Dreaming an Impossible Dream at This Stage of Your Life. But before we actually dive into that delicious part of the service, we're going to have, we have a couple of questions, right? We have a couple of questions we wanted to ask you all. It relates to like love choices, okay? So we're going to dive right in. You got the first one?
Sure. All right, so we've all had this moment where we saw someone we really liked, weren't quite sure what to say, how to approach them. So how do you know if someone likes you if you've never dated before?
And you can raise your hand. We have mic runners that
So let me read that question again.
Watching. So how do you know
if someone likes you if you've never dated them before? What type of hints would they have to show you for you to get a clue?
Yeah, get a clue.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We've all been here.
We have mics? Okay.
I would say social media, like if they like your pictures or sliding in your DM.
See, this is that new gen, y'all. This is that new gen. So social media, if they start liking your pictures and commenting on, oh, yeah, that was a good, doing all the extra on your comments, then that might mean they like you. Okay. Or that does mean they like you. Might mean or does? Might mean they like you. Okay.
All right, to distinguish between a stalker and admirer, how do you tell? We'll get to that. All right, we had another one.
They actually tell you that they like you.
All right, I like that answer.
Now, does that actually happen?
Well, somebody said no.
No. Okay.
It's a level of maturity. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay,
right,
we have another one. Anybody else? Raise your hand. We have more mics.
Left.
Okay, there's one on that side too.
They show genuine concern for you. Hey, how was your day? They're actually showing you that they're interested in you, putting forth actions, actions behind their words, not just saying, oh, I hope you have a great day, but they're actually, hey, how was your day?
I love that. Okay. So that's the way. Okay, I like that. I think there's one over here. Yes.
Take one more.
You don't. You don't know. A man don't have a problem. He don't have fear to go approach somebody he want to talk to. He's going to get up and go over there if he's attracted to her and say something to her. I don't know how the new ones do it, but a man don't have no fear.
Man not going to have a fear. He's going to go and approach.
Fear is like faith. You can't one or the other. One or the other.
I got you. Okay. So did that happen? Is that what happened with us? I don't think that happened. I kind of came
not
in.
Really. Not really.
I came on. Hey, what'd you?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that later. All right, so we'll get to that later. For the ladies, do you feel that guys are straight and forthcoming when it comes to asking you out? They are not forthcoming.
So are they communicating their intention? I heard a lot of no's. Why do you feel that
What's
way?
wrong with the approach? Let's go there.
Wait. We want to get that on the mic because I couldn't hear it.
I said they sliding in their DMs.
They slide it in their DMs?
Social media again.
Oh, social media.
I'm an old-fashioned type. As far as people walking towards each other and having a conversation, what is wrong with the approach? Ladies, I have one in the front. Anyone else?
And then one on the side.
They don't have their father to tell them how to respect a woman.
Ooh. Okay.
I like that.
Okay, as far as the approach, from what I've heard, it is the woman inviting. Because usually I always get, they'll just come up. Well, hey, hey, how you doing? Or you look, so-and-so. And they'll keep talking, and it's just, they always have some kind of compliment. And it's usually, if you're inviting. If you're inviting.
You mean if the woman has like a
friendly.
If you look friendly, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so don't just scare them off before they approach you. Is that okay?
Okay, so guys, do you feel like ladies are way too aggressive in their flirting or hinting when it comes to their nonverbal ways of saying that they like you or they're interested in you? Guys, do you feel that women today are way too aggressive when it comes to trying to non-verbally tell you, hey, I'm available, I like you, ask me out? Or do you feel like, nah, it's good. I like their approach nowadays better than how we used to do it. What do you think, guys? Guys, don't be shy, guys. I know y'all have thoughts on this. I've heard them. Share. No judgment. Share.
I personally think that ladies are passive. I think they are. I do. I think that more and more ladies are waiting for someone else to make the first move rather than have the guy make the move.
So they're wait.
Got a comment?
Well, I add to what Carol said, passive aggressive. Ladies oftentimes think that they've given enough signs for a guy to know, and we don't speak the same language, so it tends to be confusing. Is this a friendship and you just really like the friendship, or are you actually interested in more? And from her point of view, we find out later, no, I gave you the signs.
How many guys agree with that? How many guys agree with that? Just clap, clap. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a guy, but I gotta chime in on this one. Only because I feel like I have a lot of women who I know that I feel like I agree that you do need to be clear about who you're interested in, but I feel like some women don't get the hints, so it can be defined as aggressive. Because if a guy is not interested, you define that as them being fearful, or you define that as them, not really picking up on your signs. But sometimes they do see your signs and they're just not interested. So that's when I feel like it's started to be defined as being aggressive, because you don't get the clue. So that's why I said I agree, but then I feel like sometimes women can be just like too forward, to the point you don't allow the man to show interest in you in return. I'm sorry.
I like that. There's a movie title that's called "He's Just Not That Into You."
Say it again, Yolanda. That's
He's
good.
just not that into you. Let it minister. Let it minister. Okay. So here's another question. What concerns you most about dating nowadays?
That's a good
And
one.
anybody can answer this. Anybody can answer this. Whether you are a parent with a young adult, or a college student, or a high school student that's wanting to date, or whether you've been in that situation before, that you're actively dating. What concerns you the most about dating nowadays?
Let's split up. Let's say the parents. What concerns you the most about your children dating today? And then we're going to flip it on the other side. So parents.
Just raise your hand. Show your hand. What concerns you? They act like they're married. Ooh.
Too aggressive. Too aggressive.
There's a hand.
Just from seeing family members sometimes, I feel like they fall too fast. Like, it's, okay, we're together, it's been a week and this is your all and your everything, and you're ignoring other people, and you just put too much into this situation that you don't even know if it's solid or not. So, yeah.
To add to that, I think they're just not clear on what they want out of the relationship. So they just go after anything.
We have one on this side. Yeah.
As a parent, I think that I know my daughter didn't have a lot of social media at first when she went to college. And so if you're not on Instagram or on Twitter or whatever, it's almost like they don't know how to engage, and they're not encouraged to. There's no socialization. It's like some kind of way you're supposed to like each other on Snapchat or something, and then you have a relationship. So there's not an encouragement that you really need to know how to speak to people and get to know them before you jump into a relationship.
Good answer. Great answer.
We have one over here.
One more parent. And then
I was going to actually say something similar. They don't know how to communicate without the phone, because everything is us text message each other instead of sitting having a conversation and learning each other. They text, or like they say, like pictures, or the Instagram, the Snapchat. Everything revolves around that. Well, he liked my picture, or doing videos to show that they like each other versus talking and telling them about that.
now, just to interject, I'm not into the social media thing, but what is with that though? Why don't people just talk to each other face to face anymore?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what she said. I have a daughter, and I work with kids. The biggest thing is that the communication. If you text somebody instead of talking to them. How can you get to know somebody through a text?
Right.
Because when you talking, you get some type of dialogue and emotion, so you can tell if that person upset. You can tell if that person wants to see you. You communicate, and they don't. No romance. The music. They don't learn to walk in the park, hold hands. Everything is from they stealing bases instead of walking them.
Understand. All right, so let's flip it. If you're in the dating phase.
Right here, in the back. One in the back.
One in the back. Oh. I know Crystal's been holding her hand for a while. So if you're in the dating phase, what concerns you the most about entering that phase?
I'm sorry, can I go back to I'm not a parent, but I'm a teacher. And so I feel like I have children because of my students. And so one of my biggest concerns for my students is that they look at reality TV as their reality, and they see how women are treated and men are treated, and they think it's okay to get that kind of treatment. And I see a lot of my guys, my guy students treating ladies a certain way, and they think it's okay because they see it and the girl will come back to them. And that's my biggest issue. I would hope that my students would have better role models as opposed to just what's on television for what they should expect when they're dating.
Thank you. Thank you. We have one in the front. One in the front. And then we'll take this one. Okay, perfect.
So I think like my generation has this issue with we feel like things are too available. Like, so in that sense, like, you don't really, like if you're talking to someone, it's so easy to find someone else like on a dating app or something like that. And like as soon as they like make a mistake, you're like, okay, well I can meet somebody else. And it's like this easy access. But then on the flip side of that, like like women are starting to get more like, they're starting to understand more like how they feel like they should be treated. And in that sense though, like when you're in a relationship, it's like, okay, what do I put up with and like stick through, or what do I be like, no, this is too much, this is enough. So I feel like it's hard to kind of decipher without just like leaving someone rather than like, you know, sticking it out, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. It's very passive dating scene, I think. With the swipe to the left, I could easily dismiss you, delete you, block you, and it's like, you know, the way to put that.
I was gonna say that I feel like the next part that he was getting to for the dating in our range, I feel like the concern for me is that there's no level of requirement that everybody agrees to, so that that's normal now. I think what everybody settles for is made normal, and so when you are somebody that requires a certain level of something, you're looked at like you're asking for too much or you're doing too much, and so it makes you kind of the oddball. So everybody else is like, oh, why? You know what I mean?
I agree.
There's
the
no
bar's
standard
been set
that,
low.
yeah, it's set here, and that's been normalized. And so when it's set where it's supposed to be, that's not even something that looks like it can be reached. So everybody kind of doesn't, you know.
I like that. That actually ties into something that Pastor said this Sunday with the analogy about the giraffe and the turtle. Watch the on-demand video. You see what I'm talking about.
And so our last question here, I'm going to actually pose this to our married and or engaged couples that are in the building. What is the best relationship advice someone has ever given you that you can sow into the lives of those in this room? What is the best relationship advice that someone has ever given you?
Someone told us, don't go to bed angry.
Yes. We have one over here, one on this side, and one over.
My cousin told me this before I'd gotten married and was dating. He kind of made it in jest, but I kind of took it to heart, and it worked out pretty well for me. But you have to get to know them in all 4 seasons.
I like that.
And so it kind of goes along with some of the comments that people make about kind of this microwave culture where you want everything very fast. But for my wife of 2 years, going on 3, we were friends, and I was like, well, we're just going to have to get to know each other, and we're going to be friends, but you're not my girlfriend until I make that a declaration that you are my girlfriend. And so that took about a year, probably too long for her, but.
I'm with you.
But you see, like, people, like, you know, through the cuffing season, through sundress season, you get to see the various
All
changes.
shades. Right. I'm with you. I'll give you a high five, but later on, I'll give you a high five for that one.
Okay, on this side.
Just to put God first in your relationship, most above everything. Just put him first and focus on him, and by you loving God, you will in turn love your mate, your spouse. And it all just flows. It's like a tree, a vine. Everything just flows perfectly in the right way.
Prioritize.
Awesome. We have one in the front and one in the back. Anyone else have the best relationship advice someone has given you?
Just be realistic about who you are and who they are. Don't be in a bubble. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, we go in this thing thinking about what we want and what we think it should look like instead of what it really is. And we focus too much on the other person and not ourselves. And that's kind of the biggest thing. So.
That's definitely something I've noticed. Usually in the dating phase, we try to pretend or we try to behave a certain way because we're trying to impress the other person. And then the real personality doesn't actually come out until you get married. And by then,
It's like, what? I didn't know that about you.
it's a development from there, right? All right.
Just kidding. Right, one on this side and one on this side as well.
Start out how you want to hold out.
Say that one.
Start out how you want to hold out.
Start out.
Be true to yourself.
A lot of people, commitment is really the biggest advice I think I've ever been given on is this is covenant, not just,
right.
So this is supposed to be forever. So how you start, the foundation you build needs to be something that you can realistically maintain. And sometimes you all about impressing at the beginning and winning the prize as opposed to enduring the race. So,
as Pastor said, marriage is not for children.
That's
you have to know what you want and commit to it. All right, last response. Yep.
One thing I learned is to stop looking for someone to complete you and look for someone to accentuate you. So don't go into a relationship looking for someone else to make you whole. Be whole in yourself. So it's two whole people come together and not half and a half make a whole. No.
Right.
So that's one of the best things I've ever learned is don't look for someone to complete you, accentuate you, make you better.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing. Give yourselves a hand.
So the topic of the day's sermon, repeat with me, please. Say, dreaming an impossible dream in this season of your life. Here's what I call the young adult version. The sermon basically deals with the idea that there are things in your life that you cannot have because of the way you think. Sometimes in your life, the season you're in says, no, that's not possible for you. You can't have money because you spend too much. You can't be healthy because you won't do what it takes to be healthy. So in this season of your life, that dream's impossible. It's an impossible dream for you. No matter how many people you call, ask, seminars you go to, it will never change. Let's imagine this for a second. What if I were to tell you, that's impossible for you? You will never have that. You will never, ever in your life have your dream. Ever. And if I were to say that to you, you would go, who are you to tell me that you can't have this dream? But let's just pretend for a second. You know, my heart's broken because of Kobe, right? You know it, right? You know my heart's broken over that. That's just broken. But if I told you that I was going to be the new Kobe, you would say, no. That's a dream that will never come true. But if I tell you, well, okay, if I can't do that, I think I'll join the New England Patriots. I think I'll take over when the quarterback retires. And some of you would say, that's a dream, too. Dream so far, Pastor Rick, that will never, ever come true. Well, okay, you don't like those two. I'll become the new Bruce Lee, and I'll become the karate champion, and you're simply smiling. No, right? That's not coming true. Okay, so you just kicked down 3 of my dreams. Because here's what you'd say. You're not prepared for those dreams. Those dreams, you're not in the season of life where those dreams are possible. Here's what's true. You can live in such a way, you can be at a season of life where some things are not possible. Now, could it be that the way you think, the way you live, the choices you make put you in a season where as long as you make these choices and live this way, that dream is impossible. You can marry anybody, you'll never be happy. You can date anybody, you can go out with anybody, you can fall in love with anybody, but you will always have the same results because everybody you go out with, you cuss them out. When they make you mad. At some point, when they cross your line, whatever line that is, this is what you're going to do. You're going to say the same thing, behave the same way. No matter how much money you have, you can spend, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter. It could be $1 million, $10 million, $80 million. It doesn't matter. Because the issue is not the money, it's the way you spend and the way you value things. And so at some point, you have to pause when you look at this topic and think, am I dreaming a dream? Am I asking God for something that based on my choices and my life decisions, it's impossible for me to ever have what I dream at any age, now or in the future? And that, my friend, is a powerful thought. Since your choice today is to talk about love choices, I heard you in your Q&A, and I thought it was fascinating. So let me give you, if I can, some questions that I want you to think about. I want you to think about how your love choices have impacted your dreams and how those love choices have directly redirected all of your priorities. Here's one of the things that I've noticed in young people when they date. As I said earlier, I said, they act like they're married. It's amazing. I meet you today, and by, I don't know, 8 o'clock tonight, you're telling me what to wear. Then you spend the night, first night, then the next morning, you're telling my kids what to do. It's amazing how fast the track is, and there are no boundaries. I am completely, without any notice, turned over to you, and you are now making decisions for me on my checking account, buying things with me, living with me, and it's just amazing. I think that there are 3 things I've said so far in this year in this series, and one of the things I want you to think about is I want you to develop a strategy for your love life. So you say with me, please, come on. Develop a strategy. One more time, say it out loud. Come on. Develop a strategy for your love life. I have a strategy for Diane. I'm always working my plan. You can't survive marriage without a strategy. You can't survive dating without a plan or a strategy. This is how I plan to love you. Based on this, and I have to adjust it. But you need a strategy. My strategy is 0 to 800 right away. Time we meet, bam, there we go. You my man, you my woman, whatever. There we go. Is that your strategy? Number 2, think about this. You have to develop what I call a mature strategy. That's the second one. You have to grow up and be mature. If you're going to have a dream in your life, you have to have a strategy and you have to have maturity. That's what we're talking about this month. So I want you to think about, what is your love strategy? What is your maturity boundary? What are your maturity boundaries? Well said. Your boundaries. These are the things I don't do. I don't loan you money after I meet you in 2 days. What am I loaning you money for? Why am I loaning you money? Am I at the bank? Hello, loan me your money. What's the problem? How did that happen so fast? There has to be certain things you draw boundaries, and if you don't, it gets out of control. Now here's a verse, Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12, where the author, whoever you believe he is, some believe it was Paul, the author of Hebrews, writes and he says an amazing thing. He says, let me give you guys some advice. And he writes to people that are behind. They are behind in every way you can think. They're behind in the way they live, the way they think. And he says, you're stuck in all these rituals that are really supposed to be behind you now. You come to Christ. I know you're Jewish, and I know you understand Jewish holidays, but that's not how you come to Christ according to the New Testament teaching. And so he basically says, with all due respect to these traditions, the holidays, if you want to keep them, that's fine. But please understand, there comes a moment in your life when you've got to believe what you believe. And so here's what he says in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you. Again, key word, again, the first principles of the oracles of God. And you have come to need milk and not what? Solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food belongs to those who are of full age, that is, those who by reason of use, because of exercise, use over and over again, their senses are exercised to discern both good and evil. So in other words, there are people who are stuck. That's what he's saying. There are people, he says, that are not mature. And that's the concern. You're dreaming, but you're not mature. You're in a place at this season of your life where basically you've not advanced. And so that's the concern. The whole conversation is about that. The reason they're dreaming a dream that can never come true because they're not mature. That's the whole bottom line. And so here's what he says in chapter 6, verse 1. He says, let us stop, and I'm going to change translation a little bit. Let us stop going over the basics. This is really the New Living Translation. Let us stop going over the basic teachings about Christ again and again. Let us go on instead and become mature in our understanding. Surely we don't need to start again with the fundamentals, importance of repenting from evil deeds and placing our faith in God. You don't need further instruction about baptism, the laying on of hands, the resurrection of the dead, and eternal judgment, and so on. God willing, we will move forward in further understanding. In other words, can we get out of elementary school? Can we get to a place where we're no longer trying to live in elementary school? The fundamentals, the basics, we're doing stuff that we should have learned. So we don't need to sit around and talk about, okay, these basic doctrines and list them. And the whole point is grow up. That's the message, grow up. So let me ask you something. How has your life and love attitudes evolved? Have you grown up? Have you changed? Or are you the same? You went through how many people before you got here? Okay? How many people did you date before you got here? Okay, now, and you've been married for how long? Okay, so let me hear, what's changed in you? You went through a divorce, you went through this, you went through, okay, fine. What did you learn from that? What did you learn? You have 2 or 3 children from the first kid. See, the first kid you practice on. The second kid, you go, okay, I'm sorry. That's when you go back to the first kid and say, I'm sorry. I made a few mistakes. But you should grow. Your dreams will never come true if you don't grow. There has to be some movement. The biggest mistake we make is we don't grow. You get mad over the same things, you frustrate over the same things, you make the same love choices, you choose the same person over and over again. They just have different names. And it's because somewhere between here and there you've not honestly said, I'm struggling with being honest with myself, and I'm not really taking an honest assessment of myself. So that brings me to 5 signs of immaturity that can impact your dreams. Now watch this, 5 signs. You ready? Number 1. Immature people are often behind schedule. By this time, you ought to be where? Teaching, right? He said you should be teaching. You guys are behind. You got somebody telling you stuff. Somebody should not have to tell you don't date that kind of person. Someone should not tell you you shouldn't talk to your wife that way, or you shouldn't behave that way. Somewhere between here and there, you should have picked that up by now. And it's hard to admit to a person, you're behind. Have you ever gone to the guys in the block or the people you used to hang with and you listen to them talk and you go, are you still talking about that? Is that still funny to you? Is that still okay? Secondly, watch this. Immature people repeat basic lessons. Say that with me, please. Come on. Immature people do what? Repeat basic lessons. How often? Over and over again. Over and over again. Over and over again. Same thing, basic lessons, same thing, over and over again. It's the fundamentals. Thirdly, immature people can't digest solid food, he says. They live in elementary school and they can't anything solid. I'll tell you, one of my friends said something to me that was so powerful. He's a lawyer. He said something that was so profound. He said, Temple, I'm going to ask you an opinion. He said, I want you to give it to me with a hot sauce. I was one of the best comments ever. Don't spare my feelings. Tell me what you see. Do you let anybody do that? In this culture, especially if we're not careful, we've gotten to the place now that we don't want honest conversation. Do you know what you look like? I watch all my sermons. I listen to them for a reason. I want to see what I look like. I want to hear myself. I'm not vain. I just want to hear myself. If I look that bad, I want to know it. I want to know what my habits are. Put your hands in your pocket. Get your hands in your pocket. Stop it. What do you do? Are you violating? What do you do consistently? Do you speak clearly? Do you know yourself? There's something about being honest with yourself and saying to yourself, can I handle honest truth? Every month we have our books looked at. It's really great. We have an outside firm that looks at our finances, and it's always amazing. Because I get a report every month. And if they think we're spending too much or going too far, what are you doing? It's, oh, God. We just ended the year, right? So did you meet the ratios? When you have loans, you have requirements. You got to, everybody's got to see your money. It's really amazing. Anyway, so we got an audit coming up, right? So they look at what you're doing, and they ask you questions. You can't just go buy a building. Did you get it approved by the council? Did it go through the proper process? You can't just go do stuff. Is there anybody that can say you were wrong for that? That's not the way you should have said that. Solid food, not milk. Do people have to always dance when they talk to you, kind of, Sometimes why dating is so hard. Somebody says, I'd go out with you, but that doesn't match. You never match. You need to get your hair done. You talk too loud. Or you don't say anything. I should just take a dummy with me and just put him in the chair. You don't say a word. I feel are you too aggressive or you're not aggressive enough? Or it's every time we go out, you want to go to the bedroom afterwards. Okay, we go to dinner, we go to a movie, then we got to go home and then do the thing, and then that's our life. I don't like that. I feel used. Can someone tell you that? You seem addicted. You're out of control. Can anybody say anything to you that's solid? Number 4, immature people are also unskilled. It's interesting. He said unskilled in the word. And I know we think of the Bible, but they didn't have a Bible back then, by the way, just so you know that. There was no Bibles. Like a Bible like you have in your hand, there wasn't no Bible. They had like scriptures, independent verses, a verse here and a verse there or something in their mind. And basically, Paul is simply saying they're unskilled in how they live their life in terms of God's principles. They don't know what they're doing. There is a skill in managing people, money, life, yourself. There's a skill in packing a suitcase. Skill. How skilled are you at maneuvering through relationships, maneuvering through conversations? A lot of us are unskilled because there was no father to teach you. In some cases, there's no mother to teach you. The most important thing I'd ever do as a parent was to teach, and still is to impart skill. Here's how you manage a will. Here's how you manage retirement. Here's how you manage failure. There's something about that, and that's missing. And then lastly, number 5, immature people keep starting over again and again. In chapter 6, verse 1, they go back to the elementary school over and over again. Imagine you go all the way to high school, then you go all the way back again to 6th grade. Wow. And he says that for emphasis. He says it twice in the text. You keep going back to the same old thing. Man, are you behind? That's the question I want you to think about. Are you behind? Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't like that question, really. Somebody told me one time they thought I was behind schedule. I thought, really? Yeah, I thought you'd be further along by now. Always balance this thought because you can be behind, okay? You can be immature. But I think the problem is life is not always ideal, which means sometimes the real issues of life throw us off track. Let me give you a little I'm touchy about, okay? I've gotten touchy about this a little bit. I believe that all of you should have 8 months in reserve. That's great. It's an ideal number, 8 months of cash. The real truth is you don't, most of you, according to the stats, okay? Maybe 1 of you out of 10 do, but 2 out of you maybe, but most of you don't. And so those who are the 1 or 2 can make you feel like, well, you're just behind. You're off schedule, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be there. But here's what happens: life. And so sometimes when you hear the sermon, you go, "Oh God, I'm off schedule, Pastor Rick," and you just feel bad, and you miss the point. Admit that it would be nice for you to be in this ideal place. But if you're not in this ideal place and life has happened to you, you have a student loan that's evil. You absolutely don't want anybody to know exactly. When people ask you how much it is, you go, you know exactly how much it is, but you don't want anybody to know it's $400,000. You don't want anybody to know it's $500,000. But that's the real. It may not be ideal, and what you have to do is stop dwelling on the fact that you're behind. Here's what you don't want to do. Keep going further behind by not facing the truth and not hearing solid conversation. Can you get an amen on that one? So I think sometimes if you're not careful, you somehow feel, and I have to be careful because I can feel superior to some, and you always feel superior to people you're behind, you're ahead of them. You know what I'm saying? So when you ask me a question where I'm strong, I focus on that. But you're not, so I kind of make you feel like you behind, and so you feeling bad, and it's just, how about this? Come on, say, I am where I am. But I plan to learn so I can go forward. If you've been immature, what I'm saying is, or if you are in a circumstance that's maybe it wasn't because you were immature, it's because life happened to you. And it put you behind. Paul is, the writer of this book is saying to people who refuse to mature, don't judge your worth based on a balance in a checkbook because you were off by a few $1,000s that you could have had if A, B, and C didn't happen to you. Maybe you got sick, or maybe something happened. Maybe you had to help somebody. I don't know what happened in your life, but you don't need to take what I just said and somehow think, oh God, I'm so far behind. I'm so off track. And those who have advantage over you or who are further ahead in one or two areas of their life shouldn't feel like they're so superior to you that they always talk about those one or two areas that they're ahead, but they never talk about the areas that are behind. So I'm trying to help you understand that Paul, the argument here, the author here, and I call him Paul, I believe Paul wrote the book, but his argument is a person should not settle for immaturity. Because if you settle for immaturity, you'll never catch up. If you accept this as a lifestyle, you'll never get anywhere. So you'll keep dating the same kind of people. You keep making the same love choices. And you'll keep staying in the same place. But that's going to take you developing the skill of digestion and developing some skills. Now, there's 7 things that impacted my dream in my life, and I'll read them really quickly for you. 7 things that have impacted my dream. Number 1, how I manage my temperament. Man, I'm telling you, learning how to control yourself is a key to power. It is what will give you access under pressure, and people will require your services. Because if you're not good if you can't control your lip, your tongue, your words, if you're not patient in moments of difficulty, especially when you get behind. Oh man, let me get behind in money, get behind in some major area of your life. Can you slow down and say stop now? And here's what I do, Temple, stop it. Stop it. Okay, stop it. I mean, literally, I do that. Temple, pause. Okay. You got this to do, you have that to do, and you have this incredible expense and that incredible expense. I need you to gather yourself. I need you to make a decision. And sometimes I have to sit still for a minute because I feel the temperature rising. And that's not healthy. Learn that one for sure. Stay focused, stay cool. Number 2, how I manage my resources. That's not just money, that's time. We sit in front of TVs too long. I think we sit in front of these devices too long. You get it first thing in the morning. You think, I want you to just you look at your phone, it tells you how long you've been on it. How I manage my time, my resources. Thirdly, how I manage my relationships. What's it like to be in a relationship with me? I have to manage my relationships. I spend time with my wife, time with myself, time with my friends. How I manage those relationships. And fourthly, how I manage my decisions. What is my decision-making process for choosing somebody? Do I simply allow the sexual vibe I feel to be the reason and the basis for my attraction to you? Is that enough? Let me help you. No, because you've been there. You've been there, done that, and you should know now that didn't work. That cannot be the basis. It's a good. Here's what you don't want. Don't get somebody you don't feel nothing for. As a matter of fact, don't get anybody that doesn't tempt you. Okay, meditate on that a little bit. But, I mean, it should be harder to say no, but it shouldn't be impossible to say no. Can you hear that? It should be hard to say no, but not impossible. Like, oh, forget it. If this, forget it, wrong person. Here we go. Number 5, how I manage my health. That's obvious. How I manage my thoughts. That's obvious. Lastly, how I manage the truth. Man, can I deal with the absolute truth? What is the truth? You know why it's so hard for some people to be reached? It's because they cannot hear the truth. And they can't even deal with the basics. Next week I'll talk about that. But I'm going to take a break now, and we're going to pray for you, because this part is done. Can you stand with me, please? Father, in this room, there are people making choices. Some are making love choices. Some are making life choices, career choices. Some people are striving and they're struggling and they're fighting and they are trying their best to get to a good place. And they're doing all they know. Problem is they don't know enough. They're behind because they don't know enough. They don't know how to get from here to there, and they're trying. God knows they're trying. They've asked the best people they know. But sad is some of them don't have the right people in their circle. I pray that in this moment they would hear a message that would inspire them to grow. It's okay to be wrong. It's just not okay to stay wrong. It's okay to be behind. It's okay to not have an ideal financial situation or an ideal job situation. But it's not okay to give up. It's not okay to live in such a way that it's impossible for my dream to become true because I won't grow up. It's not right for me to let myself just live here. It's not fair to my future. I need to be nicer to me because 10 years from now I'll be in this same place and more miserable than I am today. It's not right for me to have a temperament like this, and this temper just keeps robbing me of opportunity. People don't want to work with me. They don't want to promote me. They don't want to hire me. They can feel it in me when they interview me. Bring a calm and a peace to my life. Bring a balance to me. Bring something to me that people will see my good works and glorify God. Bring something to me that inspires people. In the name of Jesus. With every head bowed and every eye closed, if you're here today and you say, Pastor, you know what you said spoke to me. I need to give my life to Jesus in a way that maybe I've never done it. I just want you to pray for me. I need to invite him into my life for real. If you need me to pray that prayer for you, raise your hand. Say, pray for me, Pastor. I need that in my life. Anybody else? Say, pray for me. Let's pray. Father, every hand lifted. Father, we lift up those who lifted their hands and some who lifted their hearts today. Let this be the day that they look back and say, I made a decision. Not just a love decision, I made a life decision. And Father, I give you all glory and all honor. I ask you, God, to let this be the start of a new day in their life. The day they pray, Jesus, come into my life and give me a brand new start. In Jesus' name. Everybody say amen.